welcome to part 3 of my Robocop building video. Last time we looked at the most boring thing ever, which was sanding. This time what I want to look at is what I'm doing with adding details back onto some of these pieces that I've got. So the suit that I have a hold of at the moment is not particularly accurate in that there's lots of pieces that seem to be missing from it compared to what the screen used suit looked like. And that in itself is a bit weird because this suit is supposed to be a recast of a screen used suit, but what it probably is an amalgam of various different suits that were used throughout the production, including some stunt suits, maybe even some pieces from promotional suits that were used, and maybe also some of the screen used stunt suits as well. So for that reason, there's actually quite a few bits that are just entirely missing from it. Now on the thighs, those are mainly on the front of the thigh pieces. Both sides have got details that are missing, and rather than just ignore the fact that they're missing, I actually want to add them back in again. Now what that involves is basically freehand cutting those pieces out and rebuilding them again. So we'll start off with the right thigh. I've already actually made one of these details, or started to make it anyway. It's just a recessed disc that's actually got a vertical bar that runs through it. So what I did is I used a hole saw in my drill. I drilled a hole through the fiberglass, and then I've resined in this black plastic disc in the back, but just sunken down a little bit. What I'll do next is I'll add some filler around the edge here to make it nice and smooth, and then I'll add that vertical bar in as well. But I haven't decided what to use for that yet. There's then a vertical slot that's similar to these slots here, but a little bit narrower, that runs here. And then down at the bottom of the thigh there are, I think, 2 vertical vents here and another 2 vertical vents there. I've got my reference picture somewhere. And on the other thigh there's in here there's a recessed panel which has got OCP Police 001 written on it. Then there's another piece of detail here which looks like a kind of a recessed strut or something like that, like a hydraulic strut. And then there's another 2 vertical grills that go here. So there's quite a lot that's actually missing that I want to put back in again. Something I've done already is I replaced the missing bolt head from this location here. These bolt heads, there's 2 on each thigh, and this one was completely missing. I just found a real bolt head that was the same size, and I cut it off and I fiberglassed it in. Well, actually I screwed it in and then I fiberglassed it in. So the first step that I think I'll do with putting this groove, this recess in here, is I'll use my mini drill and I'll try and do a straight line down here. So let's see how it goes. Relatively straight. What I want to do now is probably drill through and then start enlarging the hole. Okay, so I've put the vertical line in there. It's not exactly straight, but what I'll do next is I'll draw some straight lines down the edge, and then I'll use that same tool to work outwards to those straight lines. Right, that's me vertical line done. There's still a few bits of fiberglass matting that are visible through there, fiberglass strand, which I should be able to take off with just sandpaper. But otherwise, that's the groove done. I also want to put something up the back of it, just to make sure that it's not a completely see-through part. But that could just come in the form of some fiberglass soaked mat. I could also use a piece of plastic like I have here as well, but I'll see what I've got in my box of bits as to what can be used in there. Alright, so the next pieces that I need to add are the two vertical grills, which are here and here. I've got a few different options that I could use for cutting them out, but the one that I'm going to try first is using a small cutting disc attached to my mini drill. So let's get that attached. Okay, done. Should just be able to press these out. There's my new holes. I'm going to keep the fiberglass pieces that I've cut out of these ones because I'll probably use them again to mount back in from underneath, just because they're the right size and shape and they're already smooth. I've numbered them as well so that I know which ones go where. But the next step will be to make some fiberglass paste up. Here's some that I've made up before where it's cured now, and that's what I use to fix this disc in place, and that seemed to work reasonably well. So I'm going to mix some of that up. So I've mixed up my fiberglass paste. This is using some of this fumed silica over here to thicken it up, and it's got the consistency of, oh, what has it got the consistency of? Glue, which is exactly what it's going to be used for. So let's get on with that. Alright, so I've glued in those pieces from the back. I have to be quite gentle with this because it's not set. And they look alright. It's not quite as deep as I would have liked, but as the fiberglass resin cures a little bit, I can actually bodge these ones backwards. I just don't want to do it now because the paste hasn't set fully yet, and it would be very easy to just push them out completely. Okay, so it's the next day now, and these pieces have set. The fiberglass is set, and I can kind of show you up close what they look like. They've actually turned out really well, and I've got a good amount of depth on there. As the fiberglass resin was setting, I came back to these and I just pushed them back in a little bit so that they sunk in a bit more. The backing for this line looks good as well. Quite happy with that. Nice straight edges on there. Now the next bit that I want to try and do is on these damaged grills here. I want to try and round these off so that they look more like what they should do, so that I can see if there's any parts that need additional body filler adding. And once I've done that, I can then also add body filler in around the edges of here, here and here, just to smooth it off. And then what I'll have is a piece that's ready for some more sanding again. As I mentioned before, body filler is pretty toxic, so I'll be wearing a respirator for this. I've also found that mixing it on a scrap piece of foam like this works really well because the body filler doesn't really stick to the foam, and it makes it easier to scrape it all off and mix it in as well. Okay, so the left thigh. This one is very similar to the right thigh. There's lots of bits missing from the front, and I've already made a start. So I've already cut out this hole here. I've got the piece to fiberglass in from the back, and that is exactly the same as on the right thigh. So I'll just copy what I've done for that side. Here there is meant to be a sort of recessed strut, which I've already marked out. And here there is supposed to be a nameplate, which is engraved with OCP Police 001. And for fans of the movie, you'll remember that OCP were the people that owned the police. So that's his maker's mark that's meant to go there. Additionally, this whole area is meant to look like it's kind of stuck on rather than being part of the whole piece. And it doesn't really look like that because it's blended in very nicely all the way around. So I'm going to use the engraving tool again, and I'm just going to go around the edges of this and the edges of this ridge here, which is supposed to look like a recessed cylinder. Lots and lots of sanding later, and it's pretty much done. This is the right thigh. I've used a couple of pieces of MDF to inlay into these vents and this hole here, and really, other than sticking those down in place and treating them so that they don't absorb the paint, that's this thigh pretty much finished. What I'll do next is probably spray paint it with a grey primer, and that helps pick out any areas that need further attention, just because, as you can see, with it being lots of different colours and kind of patchworky, it's quite difficult to pick it out where it actually needs to have some further work done on it. The left thigh is almost done. I've still got a fiberglass back in this panel here and put a backing on these two parts, and this section here is where the engraving is going to go, but I'm not brave enough to attempt that myself, so I'm going to give it to my colleague Kevin, who's the other driving force behind this Robocop project. So this piece will need engraving with the OCP Police 001, and then once that's done, I'll fiberglass that back in from behind again. Just needs to be slightly recessed, that's why I've cut it out. If you enjoy this video series, please give it a thumbs up, let me know. If there's anything in particular that I've skimmed over or that you'd really like to know a bit more about, then just let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to help. So, see you next time.